game!
Thanks, Goose. Papo and Yo is an adventure platformer brought to us by new indie devs Minority, spawned from the mind and memory of creative director Vander Caballero. As soon as you boot up the game, you're faced with this dedication. So, straight away you're aware of the fact that this is a game with something very real and deeply personal to say.
You play as a small boy by the name of Kiko, who retreats into a kind of surreal fantasy world to escape his terrifying reality. Somewhat like the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, he follows a girl who seems to be a part of this strange world, as she is always just out of reach and disappearing through her own sets of magical doors and escape holes.
The girl shows Kiko how he can interact with chalk drawings that she's left in and around the environment, allowing him to move and shape the world. The surroundings draw influence from some of the shanty towns you'd see in some of the poorer parts of Brazil, and there's a spoken language between the two of them which sounds South American, but from what I understand it is a made-up amalgamation of a bunch of different dialects.
And it gives the impression of a world that's been constructed of dreams or memory fragments, and it doesn't all quite make sense, and the rules of physics don't apply, so anything is possible. It's wonderfully childlike in its design and construction. Chalk drawings will come to life to reveal doors and stairs, and picking up and moving small objects will translate into movement of entire buildings. It's as if you're imagining yourself as a giant overseeing a city on your bedroom floor.
Yeah, and further to that Alice in Wonderland theme, a lot of the design elements and the platforming in this game really reminded me of Alice Madness Returns. The chalk drawings, the invisible platforms, and that kind of extended second jump, and a lot of the platforming becomes about trying to judge the distance between platforms, and it's really quite difficult. That said, this is an indie title with some really great ideas, but sadly some pretty rough execution.
Yeah, the movement system is a little clunky. Also, it's not very challenging. There's not a puzzle here that's really going to tax your brain, but I was fine with that, Hex, because most of the tasks that you're performing here are just a way for the game to play out its core message. It's a method to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about games like Journey, which a lot of people have likened this experience to, that wasn't a difficult game either. It's about getting you to participate in an experience that makes you feel something, and that's what this does.
Now, not far into the game, you meet Monster. He's a large, oafish-looking thing who is harmless enough and mostly likes to sleep and eat coconuts. You can use him to your advantage by bouncing off his belly while he sleeps to reach higher platforms and tempt him to other locations with coconuts so he can bounce off his belly again.
But there's something Monster loves even more than coconuts, and that's frogs. The problem is, when Monster eats a frog, he descends into an uncontrollable rage, bursts into flames, and sets out to hurt you as much as he can. The first time you experience this, it's really terrifying. This creature that you first meet as a big friendly giant so suddenly transforms, picks you up, thrashes you about, and then hurls you across the floor.
Yeah, seeing that child's body ragdoll across the room is just awful, especially because in the back of your mind, the whole time you have this parallel of the relationship between Kiko and the monster and the very real relationship of the boy and his father.
Yeah, it's not in any way subtle. And this parallel continues to be made even clearer throughout the game, when you enter pockets of reality and his father's dual persona becomes more and more apparent. The frogs serve as an upsetting metaphor for substance abuse, and it's this constant marriage of innocent, harmless things in Kiko's dream world used to represent something much darker in the real world that's so affecting. Kiko is given a glimmer of hope, however. The mysterious girl tells him that Monster's rage can be cured, but he must journey to a temple to seek out a shaman to find out what that cure is and lead the monster there.
To help Kiko along his way, he's joined by his trusted companion, Lula, a talking toy robot which serves as a little jetpack to help him across wider platforms and also hard-to-hit switches. And for a time, this does make the action more interesting, but not any more challenging. And even though I am completely happy that this is a game with a message and that's its primary focus, I still think they have missed an opportunity a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's halfway there. Each puzzle begins as a really great idea that's just never quite explored or taken far enough. And it's not like having that added challenge wouldn't just add to the experience of living out Kiko's journey. I also encountered a few bugs here and there, mostly involving Monster, but they were easily fixed by restarting the area. But But some of the more strange and surreal ideas were so unique that I feel like it redeemed itself a little. I mean, there are levels of this game that just feel like an Escher painting where gravity gets turned around. And there are also these stunning art pieces just placed around each level that I kept stopping to look at. And, you know, at no point was I too bored or did I feel compelled to put it down. I don't feel like it reached that state of harmony where the gameplay perfectly complements the story. It felt like a series of minor chores you had to complete.
I like the fact that Monster is almost a part of you. He hinders your progress, but you have to take him with you on your journey.
Exactly, you're forever shackled to this creature, and as the little girl explains, it's in the monster's nature to be violent. It's his burden. Your only hope is that the anger can somehow be released from him, and as a gamer, that's a worthy goal to work towards.
This game is very heavy on its important message, and that does come at the expense of gameplay, so this isn't for everyone. But I found it a very memorable experience, and for an indie dev, they pulled off a pretty great concept here. I'm giving it 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Knowing the story that this game is trying to tell comes from such a personal place makes every metaphor really hit home. And I think it's just great that games like this are getting made. The game does have its issues, but it's also got some really wonderful ideas. And when it comes down to it, it's an experience that I think is worth having. So I'm giving it 7.